Hi guys, Suk Gill here. Welcome to our team collaboration training session, specifically focused around COVID and the situations we're facing right now. As I said, my name is Suk Gill. I'm working alongside Acudemy on this exciting talk we're doing for the next half an hour or so. What I wanted to do is first just give you a bit of an introduction to myself so you know who I am. And then we'll get an introduction from Acudemy as well. Then I'll go through what we're going to be covering off in today's half an hour session. So a little bit of introduction to myself. As I mentioned, my name is Suk Gill. I am 37 years young. I'm based in Beaconsfield in Buckinghamshire. And I just wanted to share a little bit about my experience and my background. I spent the best part of 12 years in the wrong industry. I was in the financial services industry. And I quickly realized as a head of sales, there's kind of two things that I had to focus on really when I was heading up a sales team. And that was the development of my people. And the second area was recognizing and being aware of the sales coming into the business. I spent 99.9% of my time on the training and the development of my team. I'm passionate, enthusiastic about helping and developing others get better at what they do in their careers, whether it's sales focused or management focused or communication focused. I'm also a part-time tennis coach. That's where the love for training and development came from. I decided to set up my own business 4 years ago now, and I've been fortunate or unfortunate enough to catch the best part of 45 flights, traveling all around the world, delivering training sessions just like this. So as you can see that I work with quite a number of different clients across all industries as well. I mentioned I'm a part-time tennis coach, and you only qualify to become a part-time tennis coach when you fail as a tennis player. And that's exactly what I did. I was top 50 UK, and that's about as good as it got. I've also completed an Olympic triathlon. And as you can see there, I'm quite an energetic person that likes to be challenged. So COVID has been pretty challenging for myself. So that's a little bit of introduction to myself. I want to bring in now the team Acudemy, which is Shameem and Yousouf, to talk us through a little bit of introduction to yourselves, and then we'll go on to what today's session looks like. Over to you guys.
Hey Suk, thanks for hosting today, and also welcome everyone for joining as well. So I'm Yousouf Neetoo, Managing Director of Acudemy Training. We're a UK-based training provider which operates predominantly on a face-to-face basis, which, like Suk says, during this COVID-19 situation has been a bit of a challenge. So we've adapted to more of a virtual and e-learning basis as well. We have numerous core subjects covering soft skills and management and leadership, finance, pretty much you name it. We do offer some sort of course in that area. A bit about myself. A bit like Suk, I'm from a finance background, actually 13 years experience in finance, selling insurance, so insurance corporate broking, before I founded this company, which is now 6 years running and growing in terms of like client base and also staff as well. So one of the part of the session today I want to cover is like growing the team. We're now a team of like 7 actually. So it's just collaborating during this period and how we can get the most out of the team. Thanks, and over to Shameem.
Hi guys, hi Suk. Very excited to join you today for this session. Myself, I've been working with Acudemy, partnering with Yousouf for the last nearly 4 years now. So I'm the sales and marketing director of Acudemy. So I see myself more of an operations guy. I'm the sales and marketing, but we try to adapt to different operations and make things move in the right direction. As Yousouf mentioned earlier, we've been trying to adapt to this during this COVID-19 situation, and shift most of our courses virtually, and running fine, I could say, with good feedback from all our sessions. So with Suk today, we'd like to see what he says and address a few questions, and hope he helps out of this as well. Help us improve on our operation and daily business.
Okay.
Up to you, Suk.
Thank you very much, Shameem and Yousouf. Really insightful. What I would say just before we get started, guys, in this session is please challenge me back as much as possible, because I'm passionate about what you guys actually take from this session and use. Okay, it's all very well me bringing a theory or an idea, but what you do on the back of it is what I'm passionate about. So please challenge me, question me as much as possible. All right. So let's just talk through the kind of areas we're covering off in today's session, the agenda for today. So the first bit is motivating your team through challenging times. I'm going to separate the two out, guys. Okay, so I'm going to spend a bit of time on motivation, but I'm also going to touch upon what the challenging times we're facing at the moment and how we need to recognize that as business owners, as leaders, managers, or just any communicators out there. The second area we're focusing on is effective communication over a virtual platform like we're talking through today. I'm going to share my own insight, having sat in on so many webinars and so many training sessions over the past, 7 months now. I want to share some of my insights around what I think people are doing well and the biggest mistakes people are making as I've gone through this. So a bit of my own insight and what I picked up, and I'll share some tips and ideas on how to avoid some of those mistakes. And the third part is how to deal with conflict when you're not face-to-face. So we'll spend a bit of time. I'm going to share some best practices, again, a couple of theories, which I think can work really, really well when it comes to dealing with conflict or challenging situations. Okay, so hopefully you'll leave out of this session today, guys, with a better understanding around motivation, a better understanding around how to communicate with your teams, how to communicate with each other more effectively using the virtual platforms, and finally dealing with conflict, dealing with challenge. All right. Okay, let's get started. Like I mentioned, guys, I'm going to separate out that first bullet point around motivating your team through challenging times. So motivation is one area. The challenging times we're facing at the moment is another area. Okay, so I'm going to talk about the challenging times first of all. I'm going to put up a quick slide. Here's a slide I want to put up. And I've called this, I call it the COVID curve. It's called the change curve. And I want to get anyone's thoughts. Anyone's heard of this before? Shameem or Yousouf?
No, I can't say I have, actually.
Okay.
COVID curve.
Same here, yeah.
So, okay, it's called the change curve. I've changed the name to the COVID curve, just because what's really, really important, where all the crux of it, where it begins from, is that we're going through some real challenging and changing times, right? This curve shows the different stages your team and you as individuals have probably gone through over the last 7 months. Whether you've had to work from home, whether you've had to switch off certain elements of your business, whether your team members have had to work from home with distractions, whether they have people that are ill in their family, all of this stuff, it all comes down to this. This is a change curve. So yes, I've talked from personal experience. To begin with, yes, I was in shock, I was in denial. Then you start going through the phases, you start moving on, you accepting the situation, and you adapt to it. But with this COVID situation, because it's been going on for so long, we've been in such challenging times for so many months, we're continually finding ourselves going back to the start of the change, the curve again. And we go back into that denial, that anger phase, when things keep changing all the time. So the reason why I put this slide up is for you to recognize where you are. And I'm keen to get your thoughts on where you may have been and what has happened in your situation, but also thinking about some of your team members, other people that you communicate with, where are they right now? Because the learning here is great to know where we are, and that's really important. It's more important to know where our team are in each of them. And that will actually have a big significant factor in how we work with our team members going forward. How we communicate with them, what leadership style we tend to need to use, what communication style we need to use once we know this. Okay, so I want to throw it out to you guys as an idea. I want to get your thoughts on this. Where are you? That's the first question. Where do you think you are in your journey over the last 7 months? And secondly, think about your team. Where do you think they are? I don't know who wants to kick us off there.
Yeah, perfect. So I'll go first. I think we're at the start again.
Okay.
The reason I say that is because obviously we came out of the first part of lockdown. So the initial lockdown where in March. So essentially we had to adapt for those 3-4 months, and then things got back to, obviously the government said go back to work. So we're going back to the office, or we're adapting to the change. And we were personally hopeful of like running some more face-to-face classroom between that period to now. Whereas suddenly, you know, about last week, 2 weeks ago, then suddenly the rules have changed again, and it looks like a second wave is potentially on the cards. So we're going, I feel like where we are on the curve is we've gone back to square one. And how it's had a knock on the team, yes, of course, because I feel there's so much uncertainty out there that in terms of business, it's kind of it's flattened in the sense that if I compare it to like last year, it's definitely down in that sense. I guess the team working from home is not ideal in a sense, but that's where I feel personally. Shameem might challenge me and say it's otherwise. Shameem?
Yes. So in terms of the impact of COVID-19, as you mentioned, Yousouf, so at start we were under sort of shock following the curve itself. Then I would say we passed the denial and anger phase, then go towards the fear, because we didn't know where business was going in terms of COVID-19 and adapting to the situation. And well, for the last 2 months, we accepted the situation and trying to adapt to it and make things moving. Now onto the curve, we'd say when new factors come in, just coming back and forth. For example, with the new looking forward with the new phase, a new wave, it could be back to the fear point. Then we need to try to stand up on our feet and say that we need to have things moving. But in our staff teams sort of motivation, they're all asking the question, where are we going in terms of business? How it's going to be for the next month, next 1 or 2 months? Are we going to be like left behind, or can we stand together and keep things moving? So it all depends on the new factors which comes in, but all together, I think we need to stay strong and then face the COVID-19 situation.
So in our bigger training program that we run for 2 days, we spend a bit of time. This is a shortened version. We spend a bit of time for you guys as leaders. It's important to understand where all of your team members potentially are and make them aware of this curve. I think is so powerful from my perspective. And a lot of the sessions that I've been running, people have been printing this slide out, and they said, actually, this is really useful for me to understand my team better, to know where they are right now, because it's all very well trying to motivate people, and we'll cover motivation next, but actually understanding where they are in the challenging times right now. And both of you, I think, Shameem, you spoke more from a business perspective. I think both of you spoke about business perspective, but there's also a personal element here as well, right? There's a massive personal element, because I'm sure your personal situation is likely to be different on the curve and where you are, whether you've got kids, whether you've got elders, they're all in a very different situation. And part of the role of the leader, of a manager, is being able to recognize your own situation, recognize where other people are on that curve, and constantly know where they are. That will help in the next phase. What's your thoughts?
Personally, I just can't do working from home anymore. The thing, it's so difficult because I got kids. I've got one who's 2 now, so he's at that terrible 2 stage. So when the first lockdown occurred, it was difficult. I'll tell you that. Just he's at the age where he wants your attention. He wants you to play with him. So for me, I understand when people say working from home with kids, it's not easy. It truly is not. And in terms of family-wise, luckily, touch wood, everyone's safe in that sense. But I can understand some of the team members where they have vulnerable vulnerable adults with them, elders especially with that target group, and then also workspace. I think that's a big thing at the moment. For me, luckily I live in a house where I've got a garden, so you can move around easily. Whereas like some of the team members, they live in like a 1-bedroom flat, so it's not ideal in that sense. So understanding their mental point of view during this period has been quite a challenge.
I think it's so important. That's why I've kind of kicked it off with this, because I think it's really important for us to truly understand our teams, because motivation comes through truly understanding our teams well enough first, right? And it starts here. This is something that I've been sharing quite a lot. What I would suggest that people are watching, spend a bit of time on this. See if you can work out where each of your team members are and share it out with your team. I think it's quite powerful.
Yeah, I think that's very important. Very important.
Any thoughts and comments on this?
Shameem?
Cool.
Yes, I was as well during the lockdown period. I would say it's difficult to work with kids around. Honestly, I set up my office into the garden, literally. We had to adapt again, situation, life at home, working from home.
Yeah.
But at the end, it became quite, I would say, routine, where you know what you're doing, what time, what precaution you need to take regarding the kids. So it's finally went to a routine where we adapted ourselves. Now, in terms of the whole team, the whole staff, we need to understand the point of view, and working from home, sometimes you lack this personal touch with everyone in the office, talking, chatting of everyday things. This is the bit where kind of frustrating, I would say.
Yeah. And
so just one point, sorry, just to jump in. For me, it was it's the work-life balance was an issue.
Yeah.
So because you're essentially you're working at the place of rest, which is your home.
Yeah.
So for me, that was quite a bit of a challenge in the sense that, my laptop's here, or I can just quickly log on first thing in the morning, do a few emails, but then before you know it, it's already like 6 p.m.
Yeah. And it's a really good point. In the training, we spend a bit of time talking through exactly this, and where your workspace is, and where your kind of social area is, where your lunch is. So I've talked quite a lot about this, and having a designated workspace, really, really important. Having a designated lunch area, really important. Having a break area, if it's possible, really, really important. So I'll share some slides in the training actually around actually setting up your day and the purpose of your day, having a purpose. We're going on to that in motivation, because I think that is absolutely crucial, because yes, it becomes like Groundhog, right? Every single day doing the same thing, and being able to shift and move things and adapt the situation is not easy, right?
Yeah, definitely. It's very important, especially if you're working from home.
Yeah, absolutely. So let's park this for a second. So guys, has that been useful?
Yes, definitely.
Yeah, very useful. Yeah.
Cool. Okay, so let's go on to motivation. Really open question here, guys. Yousouf, what motivates you?
Other than money.
Sorry?
Other than money.
Money's a motivator. That's fine.
For me, personally, it's about giving back. I like to help people. So one of the reasons why we founded this company was actually because of my dad.
Okay.
So we have a sister company which is an accounting firm, and he's given opportunities over the years to so many different accountants and bookkeepers. But then they also found there was a lack of skill when they come out qualified. So this is how Acudemy was formed, essentially, to cut the story short. But it's just giving back. I believe in givers gain. So you give something, and in the hope that you'll gain something back, whether it's some sort of reward. That's what I totally believe in.
Okay, cool. Shameem, what motivates you?
Yeah, same. I would say that the thing is that at the end of the day, when you see like new enrollments going in, from my point of view, from the sales and marketing side, when new enrollment comes in, it really motivates you. And as adding up to Yousouf, what Yousouf said, giving back, it's not only the like having in business, but also offering the opportunity for others to work with us as a staff, as partners, and everyone going in the same way. At the end of the day as well, we also we want to give this personal human touch from from the lead gen up to someone finishing the course and having a chat with them to see where they are, what they have been improved from the course. And this we want to make it like more natural, not like going by the script or like when you're done with the business, it's all finished. This is what we want to improve. This is what we want to add more to Acudemy.
Yeah, cool. Thank you very much, guys. Really good purpose, motivations, right? So, question for you, Yousouf, because obviously you manage a team. Do you know, if I was one of the things we do in our training sessions, right? I get each of the leaders and the managers to write down the team members and write down what motivates each of their team members. I'm keen to hear, and be honest with this, I'm keen to hear how well you get on with doing that.
I think it will be. That's a good question. You've got me on the spot. I think we'll get on well because we do have like our quarterly reviews and just generally seeing how they do, both from a work but then also a personal point.
Yeah.
But there are probably a bit of like question marks when it comes to like purpose. What's their purpose? Yeah,
and you're not on your own, Yousouf. So every time I do this, and well done for answering and being honest, because every time I ask that question, a lot of people are like, and they're like, yeah, I know, and they start writing it down, writing the names down. They go through like, actually, I don't know. I genuinely don't know. And they start, everyone, when asks the question on motivation, everyone goes towards money or I want to improve on promotions, I want to get better at things, right? So promotions, rewards, money, all that kind of stuff comes up, right? And I think it's really hard. I think it's really, really difficult for you to really find out someone's true motivators, right? Because you ask that question straight up like I did. That's the toughest way of doing it, right? So a quick tip, Yousouf, for you, right? I hope you don't mind this, but next time you're with your team, because I think it's very difficult on one-on-one basis, to ask someone straight out in a one-to-one, so what motivates you? And they always, money, promotion. They will always say that because I haven't had a chance to think about it, right? One of the tips I would give is, as motivation questionnaires that you can get, do it as a team, as a fun activity, to truly understand what actually drives each of the team members, because what you're probably thinking it is and what it is sometimes two very, very different things. For me personally, when I was a manager, I quickly learned when I was, because I was so intent on training and developing people all the time, I would always, in the interview, even before they'd been taken on, I would find out their true motivator. It was really, really important for me to understand that, because it's very difficult to manage someone if you don't know what truly drives them. So, a tip here, I don't know if you do it already, but I would highly recommend doing like a motivation questionnaire on motivation. All right. So moving on to motivation. There's something called extrinsic and intrinsic motivation. Does anyone want to hazard a guess what we mean by each of those?
I'm not too sure. I'll be back to Shameem.
Yeah, same. It's been. I remember the term from my uni years, but tell you frankly, I forgot. Yeah, wiped out.
Okay, so let me just talk through it. Okay, extrinsic motivation: rewards, money, promotion, things that tangible rewards that you can get, money, promotion, bonuses, all of this stuff is a motivator. We know that, absolutely it is. But what's the downside of extrinsic motivation, do you think, guys?
What's the downside? Greed, probably.
Yep.
But then collaboration it becomes more self-centered. Yeah. So
if they're solely focused on promotion, rewards, money, okay. What we tend to find, and this is from a guy called Dan Pinker wrote a book called Drive, and he talks about extrinsic motivators. When we take money off the table, what is it that drives people? That's what's so crucial, because this can fluctuate, okay? This can, yes, it can bring team morale up. You give everyone a pay rise, let's say the morale isn't going so well, and you give everyone a 10% pay rise, morale will go up for 3 or 4 months, but it'll drop to the floor again. I've seen it in so many businesses so many times, okay? Yes, money's a motivator, but when you take money off the table, what is it that truly drives your teams, okay? And so what we're leaning towards here is intrinsic motivation, things like your purpose motive, mastery, passion, okay? Those 3 or 4 areas, and what attached to that as well is something called autonomy, which I'll go into in a second. So yes, we know people are motivated by money, rewards, promotion, but there's something bigger, something stronger. In the book, in the video, Dan Pink talks about that. When you take money off the table, what is it that truly drives us to do what we do? Why do we do what we do? So intrinsic motivation is what you call long lasting, right? It's not going to be a quick spike up, then drop to the floor again. This is talking about something embedded, the purpose motive, how we can embed, how we can enable mastery, and how we can release their passion. So why do they do what they do? Really, really important factor. What's everyone's thoughts on that? What are we thinking?
I'm thinking that I need to put together a motivational questionnaire.
Yes.
For our next team meeting, team one-to-one. No, I think that's it's a very good point, because I've also personally seen it, where you may give someone a pay rise, and then come a few months down the line, you just see their motivation suddenly just drop again.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's important that not only me, but everyone who else is joining to think about what actually motivates our teams.
Yeah, I know it sounds strange, but it's easy to give someone a pay rise. It's easy to give someone a promotion. That's the easy bit. The tough bit is spending time to truly understand their true driver. And that's why I asked the question at the start, that what motivates you? You can't answer that. You can't just answer that. You can't expect your team to just answer that. It takes a lot longer, and it takes a lot more time for you to really truly understand your team members, to build that relationship, to build that rapport. So in the book called Drive by Dan Pink, he talks about 3 areas. And I'm going to put this up. We spend a bit more time on this in our training sessions. What we do in our training sessions here, guys, just so you're aware, we help each of our team, each of the people on the course, to focus on how can we embed and enable autonomy, mastery, and purpose within our teams, with each of our team members. Autonomy is self-direction, control of ownership of a certain task or project. Giving someone a specific task and ownership of something, it drives autonomy. It builds motivation. People are motivated by that. Think of new team members, people that are new to their job, giving them shiny, something new, something different, and delegating it in the right way can have a huge impact. It will increase motivation. The second area is mastery. We want to get better at things. We want to improve our capabilities, our skills. We passionately care about improving and getting better. Having mastery, really, really important factor. And the third area is purpose. Right now, people working from home, the biggest challenge I'm hearing, I've been running so many one-to-ones. I think I've run the best part of 50 one-to-ones in the last 7 months. And it always comes down to purpose is the biggest challenge people are facing right now. Connecting to a cause larger than yourself, caring about outcomes. So when we talk about the purpose motive, we're talking about, why do people do what they do? Why are you in your role? Understanding that about your team can be really, really powerful. Okay, I'm going to give you a couple of minutes here just to think about autonomy, mastery, and purpose. Is there anything you guys can be doing to enable that with your team in any of those subjects there?
I definitely think mastery.
Yeah. Mastery is one, yeah. I think it's, this is a really big topic around progressing their skills. I get that. And also understanding what they want to improve and what they want to get better at, not just allowing them to go and research and find out this information, but presenting it back to you, presenting it back to the team in a team environment, that also ticks the box for autonomy and a purpose as well. Right? Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So getting them to learn a subject or a topic area and then presenting back to the rest of the group, the rest of the team, I think it's quite powerful.
I totally agree on that. That's a good idea.
What about the purpose? How can we drive their purpose? Let me phrase some questions, okay? So let's think about purpose. Academy, do you have values within the business?
Of course.
You've got your values, right? Would you, hand on heart, say that everyone in your team knows all of the values and is aware of them?
I would hope so. But hands on heart, probably half of the team members.
Okay, that's pretty good, right? Why is that? And it's not reflecting on you as a company or anything like that. Why do you think that could be?
Lost in translation, probably. From probably management down to the ground. Yeah. So
this is in every single business, right?
Yeah.
Creating the challenge with values within a business is that they're created from the very top, and there's kind of no involvement anywhere at all. So in the training session, actually, I run some sessions on me being a business owner and how, if I had a team and I get everyone else to be the team, I work with them to how to create the values for them as a business, for their team. So they're connecting with your business on a much different scale, on such a different level, because they're involved in it. They're involved in creating the values. That's why people don't always remember the values, because they're not always involved in it.
I agree. It's more like passed on from the top.
And it's not an attack on you, Yousouf, as a business at all. It's every single business, everyone I speak to all the time. A lot of people don't even remember their own values. It's because sometimes we need to create team values and core values. Smaller, if it's a big business, you only create team core values, and we link into that behaviors as well. So actually, what does good look like? What does success look like? That will drive people's purpose. It will help people to be connected to a cause larger than just making money. Right? We get that. And I think that's quite a powerful way to build true motivation. Autonomy, give them ownership of a certain task, delegate in the right way. People will be motivated by that. The thing to remember is, if you don't challenge people enough, they're going to be demotivated.
Yeah, bored.
Challenge people too much, they're going to be demotivated.
Yeah.
Believe me, it happens so much. So being able to find that right level where people are being pushed and challenged, but it's a motivator. They're driven by it. And I talked about delegation there, and something that sits with autonomy, mastery, and purpose are two things. Remember this. Number one is being able to coach your team. The second area are one-to-ones. One-to-ones and being able to coach your team. When I talk about one-to-ones, I'm also talking here around personal development plans, not just one-to-ones about business perspectives, but also personal level. So I would split all one-to-ones into three areas. PDPs, personal development plan, their business and work objectives, and how they're personally feeling. That third one sometimes is forgotten about. But those are the three areas I think is really important. It does drive motivation, coaching, one-to-ones. Any questions on motivation, guys?
Well, you touched on like the motivation part of delegation in terms of, like, as an example, like how does one find that balance? Is it a conversation through one-to-ones or coaching or
how in terms of delegation?
Well, just like in terms of like demotivation, so finding the balance of, like, say I give someone too much work or I give someone far too little work, where they become a bit more demotivated. Like, how does one find out?
Yeah, it's a good question. So what I would say is the personal development plan is really crucial for this, because if you can understand their drivers and their development areas, and you know that they want to improve on it, they've got a passion, they want to improve in this area, and you're delegating work specific to that, and it's linked to that, they will want to find the time. It's that purpose element again coming out. They'll want to find the time to do that. what I've done in the past is if someone has got a lot of work on, but I want to delegate something specific to them, you've got to, I would always use what I knew about them and their personal development and where they want to improve and get better. I would always link that back to, look, I want to pass this work on to you, Yousouf, because I know you want to get better at face-to-face presenting. So I want to give you this activity and this activity, but I'm aware that you've got quite a lot on at the moment already. So we do spend time, Yousouf, running in the training session, running through how to run a PDP, how to run a one-to-one,
right,
through coaching. It's exactly what we do.
okay.
Sorry, we haven't got enough time on here.
No, yeah. Another day.
Any other questions on this before we move on? All good?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's move on to communication, okay? We all know we're in a real challenging time, me included on this, and you guys probably included as well, around how to communicate effectively, whether you're using Zoom, whether you're using Teams, or in any other platforms. There are some real challenges right now, and being able to communicate effectively without being face-to-face, without human contact. And I've, like I mentioned at the start on the agenda, I've sat in on goodness how many webinars and how many training sessions. There's been so much stuff on LinkedIn that's been available, and I've sat in on so much stuff. And I just wanted to share with you guys some of the biggest mistakes I've seen when it comes to communicating. And these are from, all different types of webinars that I've sat in on. And I want to get your thoughts on which ones stand out for you. All right. So let me just put these up. Okay, guys, moving on to the next section after motivation, focusing on how to communicate effectively when we're in this crazy world of working on Zoom, on Teams, because there is a big challenge, right? There's a huge challenge not being able to work face-to-face and communicate with the face-to-face. There's big challenges that I've seen that I want to share with you guys around the biggest mistakes that I've seen from webinars and training sessions and communications on Zoom. And I've been involved in so many over the last 7 months. These are the biggest mistakes that I have seen, all right? I'm going to put these up on the screen.
Mm-hmm.
What I would then like you guys to do is have a think about them. Have you seen any of these mistakes? Did any of these resonate with you? Can you put your hand up and say, do you know what? Actually, I need to be better at that. All right. I just want to get your thoughts on it. Okay. So I'll put them all up now, and then we'll have a bit of an open conversation once you've had a think. These are my own thoughts, okay, on what I think are the biggest mistakes being made right now.
Doing about 4 already.
What's your thoughts, Yousouf?
Definitely point 1, no agenda. I just feel like we're having a Zoom meeting for the sake of having a Zoom meeting.
Yeah.
Definitely gone on for way too long. I can see. And I think during lockdown I had like a full day just of Zoom calls. It's just like, was it necessary? Probably not. And an email could have done.
Yeah. Okay.
Depends who I'm also talking to, actually.
Yeah.
That comes to mind.
Yeah. Obviously,
with a client, it's slightly different, but usually with the team, it can be a quick message on Microsoft Teams, really. Rather than spending hours on the phone or hours on actual.
So let's just go through some of those then. No agenda being set. The reason why I put this up is that some people do have an agenda. They do have an agenda. But if we want engagement, okay, number three says only 21% of clients or people that are in a virtual session are fully engaged, okay? We want engagement in these sessions. So just sharing just your agenda, what's the downside of that?
It's a one-way combo.
It is a one-way conversation, right? Because you're telling them, this is what I want to cover. This is what I want to get from this session, right?
Yeah.
What's crucial is asking them what they want to get from the conversation as well. Okay. This is what I want to cover off. Is there anything else in particular that you want to go through today? Really, really important. Creating a shared agenda at the start of a conversation, absolutely crucial. Whether you do that beforehand, like we did, guys, we did it beforehand, right? You kind of set this is what you wanted to get from the session, and that's what I created, right? So whether you did it beforehand or in the conversation there and then, sharing your agenda, but asking them what's going to be important for them, how they're going to get value out of the next hour. So really, really important. Creating a shared agenda, it does increase engagement. What else can we do around engagement? How else can we engage other people on the conversation?
Bring them into the conversation, I guess.
Yeah.
Like Shameem, now, what's your point?
Yeah, no, of course, and setting up tasks for everyone. Like we have an agenda, then at the end you want to have a feedback on it as well. So making everyone participate in it, and also in terms of agenda, it's not like only the boss who sets the agenda. You can, from each one of us, we can have an agenda, a set of objectives that we want to add to our day of week of working. So it's good to share and know where we're heading.
Yeah, that's something, just to interrupt Shameem, that's something that we do, Suk, is, for example, when we're doing a virtual call, everyone brings an agenda for that week.
Yeah.
So they bring their point, and then we just essentially we run through that agenda as a group.
Yeah.
Rather than like Shameem says, one of us sets the agenda. Yeah.
It's so powerful. It's amazing that you guys are doing that, right? The reason why it's so powerful, because people are going to stay engaged because they know there's something in it for them. They know there's something specific that they want to focus on, because as much as we love to think that we care about others, we care about ourselves first, right? Fair point, right? So we do care about ourselves first. So it's important that we engage in them. What's in it for them? What are they going to get out of the next hour? That will help keep people engaged. There's a much higher chance to keep people engaged. It goes on for too long. Why is that? What makes a session feel like it's going on for too long? Hopefully this one isn't, but
this one's actually too short. So I think when it goes on for too long, people just start dozing off and looking at other things.
Yeah, I get bored.
Yeah, that's what I found, is like I see an email come through and then I'll start checking it.
Yeah,
my attention span it's not that long.
And hopefully what I'm trying to do again is what am I doing constantly with you guys when I'm sharing something?
In the engagement, that's the whole point.
Participation.
Yeah,
I'm always coming back to you guys. What's your thoughts, guys? What do you think? Is this a good idea? What's your thoughts on that slide? What's your thoughts on this slide? I'm constantly doing that to get engagement, to get people to have a conversation back. The other one that stands out for me, lack of clarity, we'll go on to in a second. We have to have clarity on what we want to achieve on that conversation. The last one, trust. How do you build trust?
It's an interesting question. Well, point on the slide, because who are we specifically talking about in terms of trust? Are we talking about trust with clients or trust with existing team members?
So either one, like either one. Yeah.
Okay.
How would you build trust?
How would I build trust in general?
Yeah.
I guess it's when you delegate certain work, productivity, just you're trusting the team to you're trusting the team to get on with it. There's no need to like check up as long as the work's getting it's getting done.
Yeah.
That's probably one of my trusts, like trusting the team to get on with the work.
Yep. Okay.
Shameem, I don't know on your end.
Yeah, a bit quite what you said. So first of all, you need to build up the trust. Say you at the top, you need to give that trust, and at the end of the day, make sure that your colleagues, your staff understand what responsibility they are being given, and also you need that trust from them as well to get things moving. If not, then
sorry, go on.
That's fine. If not, then you need to check back on what you said, Yousouf. Check the work again, go through bit by bit again. So when you need you build up the trust, and I'm sure that at the end of the day, you get the work you've been asked for.
Okay.
So how does one build trust? You're obviously gonna you're gonna jump on this anyway.
Yeah, I'm gonna jump on this now. So I'm only gonna go through it really quickly and stuff. So in the training session, we spend quite a lot of time on trust. I think it's a really important part. So we spend a bit of time on this area. But just to give you a really quick snapshot, in a book called The Trusted Advisor, if you haven't heard of it, definitely recommend buying it. They talk in the book about building trust and the trust equation. Okay, trust equation, they say, is trust equals C plus R plus I divided by SI. Okay. The three things, the C, the R, the I build trust. The division line, going back to GCSE maths, means that the SI is actually reduces trust. That's a negative thing. Anyone want to share their thoughts on any of those? I'll give you a minute or so. Have a think about what the C, the R, the I stands for, and what the SI stands for as well.
C, assumption is communication.
Okay.
Respect. Not too sure what the I is.
Involvement, maybe.
Involved, could be.
The
Could be
SI?
involvement. S. What's the S though?
Two separate words, kind of linked together.
Two separate words.
S.
Stress. No, stress won't fit in.
Yeah, in misery.
Yeah, go on, put across that.
C stands for credibility.
No, credibility.
Credible. Okay, that builds trust with your clients. We're internally with each other. Absolutely credibility. The R stands for reliability. Doing as you say you're going to do. Being a reliable manager, leader, colleague, client, really, really important. The I, it's an American book, so excuse the word, it's intimacy. Building a deeper, stronger relationship, or customer centricity is another way of putting it. Those three areas really, truly build trust. Credibility, reliability, intimacy, which is a deeper, stronger relationship. The division line, the SI, stands for self-interest.
Self-interest.
Okay.
Yeah.
What I mean by that is that we make it less about ourselves, more about the other person. And it's really simple as humans, you know, let's say, Yousouf, if I came to you and said, this is what I did at the weekend, your natural thing to do after that is to tell me what you did at the weekend. Human instincts, right? We tend to focus on ourselves. We kind of, you know, everything that we do, you know, even when you're putting a document together, a pitch together for a client, the first 3 or 4 slides, they tend to be about ourselves, right? How big we are, how strong we are, how long we've been around for. That reduces trust. So keeping self-interest under control as a manager is just as important, right? Being able to make it less about yourself and what you want to get done, the tasks you want to get done, but focusing on them and their development. There's a difference, right? Any thoughts and comments on this?
Yeah, of course. Well, Yousouf, getting this before you. You don't want to be self-centered at some point and leading a team. You need to have everyone all together moving forward.
Yeah.
And the thing of like credibility, reliability, and intimacy is very important, as you pointed out, Suk.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think we need to put more emphasis on these 3 factors, and put away
self-interest.
Self-interest. Yeah.
And it's about keeping that under control. We've all got self-interest, right? Whatever job, whatever we're doing, but it's about keeping that under control, focusing on the other person. So trust in the training session, we spend quite a lot of time on this, guys. I appreciate it's just a really short amount of time we're spending here, but in the session, we spend a lot of time on how to build credibility, how to build reliability with your teams, how to build intimacy with each other and customer centricity with your clients, and then how to reduce self-interest.
So do we cover this in terms of, obviously, I feel building trust is something that I personally prefer to do face-to-face.
Yeah.
Whereas like virtually, have you trained anyone that has this issue when it comes to like virtual?
Yeah. So one of the first things I would, if it's a client or anything like that, I'd always try and make sure it's a video. You're having a video conversation so you can see each other. That does build connection. The other way to build connection is, you know, at the start, it comes back to the agenda piece, I think, at the very start, right? Because whether you're virtually, whether you're face-to-face, the agenda piece is so important, and saying that this is what I want to cover off. What do you want to get out? That reduces self-interest, makes it less about your agenda, about what you want to get, what you want to cover off, but it makes it a collaboration. That builds trust. It makes the other person feel like you're working together towards a goal, which is really, really important in difficult conversations, as well as as well as normal communication with someone. But I think it's harder. It is much harder when you don't have the face-to-face element. I think it makes a big difference, and it's not easy. So it's about doing things like putting on a video, being able to make it a two-way conversation where they are sharing their thoughts and opinions as much as possible.
Just obviously going back to the actual issues with remote communication.
Yeah.
How can I might be jumping ahead here, but how can people or even us improve on or make use of virtual communication be more effective?
Okay, you are jumping ahead. It's the slide off.
I'm sorry. Go for it.
Okay, so the other bit I just wanted to talk with clarity. Having clarity before you go into any meeting or conversation, whether it be a client, whether it be a team member, okay, ask yourself these three questions. What do I want to achieve? What are my conditions for success? What do I want the team to be saying or thinking afterwards? Okay, so when you're putting your Zoom call or meeting together, ask yourself, actually, what do I want to achieve? What do I want to get from this conversation? What do I want to get out of this? What does success look like? What is a great scenario? What would be a great outcome for this meeting? But what's the bare minimum that we need to get out of this meeting? And the third question is my favorite. I always, every time before any training session that I run, guys, I always ask myself that third question. What do I want Yousouf and Shameem to be saying and thinking as soon as I cut off from Zoom today? That's the question I always ask myself. That's my end goal, and I'm always working towards that. I'm always making sure that I'm showing those behaviors, those actions that lead me to that end goal. What do you think, guys?
Definitely, very important. It is to have that end goal.
Yeah.
And I think where we probably come short sometimes is the follow-up.
Yeah.
We say that we're going to do something, and this is the end goal, but it just never materialized as such.
Does that impact your trust and reliability?
I don't know, Shameem, you want to just jump in there?
Well, in terms of, let's say, let me take it from the start. In terms of the end goals, obviously, you need to think of the end goals, because it will help you prepare the whole stuff, bringing forward, presenting your objectives. Then in terms of what, Yousouf said, in terms of follow-up, we're a bit short on this. We need to have, put things better, and to have more follow-ups, of course. Even with, say with the staff and with the delegates as well. So this is a thing where we want to improve, as I said earlier. Well, it's on way, but we want to make it like better, of course, in terms of people relation.
Yeah. Any thoughts, Yousouf?
No, I totally agree with what Shameem's saying. I've already mentioned this to him.
Open up a can of worms here.
Yeah, basically.
Moving on to your question earlier, Yousouf, you mentioned about how can we be effective? How can we be effective in the virtual sessions that we're running? And I want to share what I do at the start of a training session, in the bigger training sessions, a slide that I put up, and to make sure that people are kind of switched on and engaged in the session, right? So I put this slide up, and this is what success looks like, regardless of where you're logging in from. For you to get the most out of a training session that I'm running, or a conversation or a meeting that I'm running, I put these bullet points up, okay? I'll let you have a quick read. This is what I ask from them. So whether it's Teams, whether it's GoToTraining, whether it's Zoom, this is some of the things that I always talk to them about beforehand, so they're aware. Any thoughts on this?
I think all points are very crucial.
Okay, so
probably what I found is some people, in terms of where they are located environment-wise, one or 2 points might not be possible.
Yeah. Yes.
And if you've got like kids running in the background as well, that's been another issue.
Yeah.
How does one tackle that? Is that even possible?
So I think the situation, you know, I talk a lot about authenticity and being authentic and being yourself. People don't like to communicate with someone that's almost a robot or acting a certain way. There's nothing wrong with the situation we're in right now, building empathy and truly understanding each other. We've seen it so much right now, and it's just recognizing it, the kids in the background, recognizing it, making the other person aware, and then carrying on again. I don't think anyone is offended by that at all, right? And it's the situation we're living in right now, and I think people are empathetic and understanding enough, because people want to work with human beings, right? If you're talking about clients, they want to work with humans, right? So there's nothing wrong with being yourself, being authentic at all. You know, a lot of people try and put backgrounds up and all of this kind of stuff. My view is that actually be yourself wherever you are, right? That's the situation. So this is what I share. So I always tell people to have Microsoft Word open. So any meeting notes, any conversation notes that people need to be taking, or anything that they've learned, they want to pick up on, Microsoft Word's a good way of doing that. Or if they take their own notes and by pen, that's fine. With some of the functionality in some of the group, there are private chat functions that you can chat to each other privately, and making people aware of this, because some people might not want to talk. If you've got a group that you're running a team meeting, some people won't want to. More introverted, they may love the idea. Actually, someone said to me a couple of weeks ago, thanks for a private chat. They'd love talking to me on that and giving their views and opinions on there rather than talking in public. It's making them feel comfortable. It helps them stay engaged. Hand-up facility, breakout rooms. Yes, it's really important if you are able to do that. I always say that I share documents and I share some videos as well. And I talk through videos and I get them to watch videos. The last two, I get the environment. The more people you have with camera showing and off mute, the more chance you have of engagement, because people are comfortable just to chat. So I always try and make sure that people stay off mute as much as possible and have their camera. Because the camera, why is the camera so important, guys?
Well, it's the engagement, isn't it, during this period where, especially where we're talking about training as well as the example, it's the engagement where you get in the classroom, so camera kind of is a semi-replacement.
Yeah.
At least you know who you're talking to.
No comments,
absolutely.
No comments.
Yeah, I was about to say Shameem.
Opening up more issues now.
Shameem forgot his camera in the office at home. I think. Yeah.
Well, from what you said, Suk, with this global COVID-19 situation, from the corporate environment we'll be working in, this has made us rethink of who we are. Of course, first thing, we are humans first. Yeah. So accepting to keep it simple wherever we are, whatever environment we're working in. And everyone, I think, with this global COVID-19 accepted the situation of simplicity, I would say. And not bothering about, kids, would say, of course, you want to have like a quiet spot to be working, of course. But kids crying in the background, so it's not that an issue, I think, from my point of view.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, even like the big corporations, I can't remember who it was on the phone to, and on the holding music, it said, please ignore any background noise. And I thought that's obviously the way things are now. So, it's because they're working.
I think it's quite interesting because more people are working from home. That people are being a bit more open about stuff, right? Because I've had conversations with, or in a Vodafone or some other companies, And you kind of get into a very different conversation than you would normally, right? Because people are at home, people are being themselves a little bit more, which always increases engagement, it increases that communication, because people are authentic, they're being themselves.
Yeah.
So just the last part on this section, body language, tone and content all play a huge part when we're communicating face to face. Okay. What do you think the percentage split differences are in terms of impact on the other person? Body language, tone, content, I mean like the words you're using. There's impact on the audience or the other person you're speaking to.
In which environment we talk about? Virtual, obviously.
Face to face at the moment.
Oh, face to face.
Face to face, yeah.
Face to face.
Well, then definitely body language and tone comes top two.
Yeah.
And then content obviously comes after.
So body language, 55%.
Yeah.
38% down is tone, 7% is the words you're using.
Yeah.
What I'm trying to get across here is get people on camera, because body language plays such an important part. The downside is, body language, if we can't see other people, recognize other people's body language, I think plays a massive impact. Also, our own body language we have to be mindful of. I guys, every time I have any Zoom calls and stuff, I always stand up. And you can see now, I don't know if you're aware, I'm standing up now. I always stand up because my body language needs to be up, it needs to be over here, because it'll impact my tone. Having poor body language, and a lot of people on Zoom with their head down there, it impacts their tone as well. So impact on the audience, impacting other people, tone and body language play a huge part. Thoughts and questions?
No, I just have to reinforce what you say. It's just surprising that, well, it's not surprising because body language and tone, especially in this today's current landscape, when you're talking to clients or delegates or students, I think that's the key, isn't it, really, at the moment? That they can visually see you and, in terms of like your actions and stuff like that. So it's really important.
People connect with that. They will connect with that. It's really, really important. Okay, moving on to the final stage, guys. Difficult conversations. So when it comes to difficult conversations, and we've covered quite a lot around the virtual area, so I want to focus on difficult conversations now. In terms of, there's kind of a couple of areas which I think are really, really important in difficult conversations. So I'm going to shorten this bit out. What I get people to do is to think about any difficult conversation that they've had in the past and think about their goals, their beliefs, their feelings and emotions going into that conversation. Okay. And the reason why I get them to do that is because that's what tends to happen in most conflicting situations. We go in there with our views, our opinions, our thoughts. What we need to do is shift our mindset total 360 degrees and think about the world from their perspective. Build empathy. The first huge tip with difficult conversations is think about the other person, situation, their beliefs, their goals, their situation at the time, where they are on the COVID curve. That also has an impact before you go into that challenging conversation. Okay, that's the first big tip, is don't think about things from your perspective, think about things from their perspective. Reduces self-interest as well, right? We're not going in with our agenda, we're focusing on them. That's the first big tip on difficult conversations. The second one, and this is by a guy called Eric Burns, all right, and he talks about transactional analysis. Anyone heard of this before? Parent, adult, child?
Yeah, I was going to say parent, adult, child. Yes.
You should talk us through it.
I've heard of it. I don't know exactly the meaning behind it, but I know something to do with like controlling. I think that's the parent side, isn't it?
Yep.
Where it's controlling like orders, issue orders and demanding basically. Whereas the adult is a bit more reasonable, rational, and kind of you treat them as equals essentially, and then the child is obviously compliant and emotional and resentful.
That's good. It's a really good explanation, actually. Parent, adult, child is exactly that. So what Eric Burns talks about, Shameem, have you heard of this before or just new?
New to it, same, new to it.
New to it, okay. So parent, adult, child, and really well explained by Yousouf, actually. What Eric Burns talks about is that we go into any of these three ego states at any given time, Okay, parent, adult, and child. Parent mode is someone that's declarative statements, demanding, controlling, rules, judgment. Your old manager, your old annoying manager will say something like, get this done now, get this sorted ASAP, haven't got time for this, get it done. Demanding, controlling, just get it sorted, out of the way. When someone is in parent mode, what mode are they looking for from the other person?
So repeat that, Suk.
So if someone's in parent mode,
yeah,
to get someone, get this done, get it sorted now.
Yeah.
What mode are they looking for from the other person?
Child, basically.
Absolutely. Compliant, passive, resentful, emotional. Yeah, I'll do it, but you're an idiot. Yeah. What's the downside of that kind of relationship? Parent and child.
There is no relationship.
There's no relationship, right?
Yeah. There's no trust.
One way being talked at.
Yeah.
Okay. The third one, adult mode.
Yeah.
Understanding, reasonable, rational, logical, treats people as equal. So our challenge is to get into a situation where we're having an adult conversation.
Yeah.
Okay. So the question you're going to ask me, which I'm going to throw back onto you guys, is how do we move someone out of child mode? Because it happens, right? People go into that mode of statements, get this done, get it sorted now. How do we move them out of that mode into adult mode?
I was going to ask you. I was going to you. How? Well, it's a bit of a difficult one. I guess it's how you us as like probably well, as team members, you have to treat them as a team member. So as an adult, so you need to rationally ask them, "Can you do this for me? Can you help me?" It's probably your tone and your language. Yeah.
Okay. So, Shameem, any thoughts on this?
Yeah, same as Yousouf. Rather than like ordering, just can ask, can we do it? Can you do that? It would be good if you could. I don't know if asking in a much polite way.
Yeah. Okay. So, when someone is in parent mode, they're kind of just demanding things, get this done, get it sorted now. How we get them into adult mode is asking them questions. Asking them questions. Something like, yes, I can get this sorted for you, just so I've got a better understanding. Can you explain this in more detail? Can you explain this in a bit more detail? I've got a better understanding, so I'm not wasting any time. That should hopefully bring someone out of parent mode into adult mode. Make sense?
Yeah, you're kind of like throwing it back at them in a way. Yeah.
Get them into a conversation, right?
Yes, basically.
So how do we move someone out of child mode then?
It's probably asking them how, in a sense, can they assist you, I assume.
Yeah, make them more engaging into what you do.
Yeah, engage them into exactly.
Rather than being the last one to know what you're doing.
So, same as the other way, asking questions.
Yeah.
So can you get this sorted now? They're like, yeah, okay. So tell me how you're going to approach this. How are you going to go about doing this? How are you going to do this? So asking them more questions about it will get them to start speaking about it, understanding logical, rational conversation happening. Okay. The most important thing with this model is to understand what mode you're in, because guys, we go through each of these modes. There's nothing wrong with either of them, any of the three. We go through each of these three modes. So understanding what ego state that we're in at the time of our difficult conversation, but also being able to recognize what state the other person is in. Okay. So if you notice, I've been in parent mode sometimes today, right? I said, this is an idea, boom, what do you think? What I've done to get it into an adult conversation is ask you questions, right? What's your thoughts, guys? What's your thoughts? It's all about questioning. So in a difficult conversation, recognize where you are, what state you're in. If you have parent mode, there is explosions. Being able to take a step back, think logically, with emotion as well, that's important, but having more of a logical approach can make a big difference. So moving someone into adult mode as soon as possible in that conversation. Any thoughts, guys? That's adult mode again.
Yeah. So, obviously we're going through a difficult period for everyone. How does anyone go through difficult conversation virtually? Do they adapt still this parent adult child?
Yep.
Or let's take an example. For instance, say one of the teams is going to be made redundant.
Yeah.
So obviously I can't see them face to face for one reason or another. What would my approach be, and how can I keep it on an adult but then also a parent sort of level?
Yeah. So I'll give you a structure in a second.
Yeah. Sorry, I'm jumping in.
Well, okay. And it's all around stating your intent up front.
Yeah.
Stating your intent up front, okay? It's really, really important. But in that redundancy moment, my view, and you'll get different views on this, is stating your intent up front from the start, being totally honest and open and saying it directly. And a lot of people have different approaches. The more honest and open you are and authentic from the very start of that conversation, that virtual meeting, having the video on is really, really important. I think it's so crucial. Having video and being able to see each other, I think so important. I wouldn't do anything like that over email. I'd always do it virtually. This is the best way.
Because normally you would have that conversation in your face to face. So
yeah, you would. But I would urge push towards that and state your intent up front. Say up front the news and whatever it is.
Yeah.
And then it's important for them for you to take a step back and reflect and let them think things through. All right. Yeah. So in that difficult conversation, I think that's crucial. Being able to say up front, look, this is what's happened. Because of what's happened, this has happened. And just stopping and waiting and getting their thoughts if they've got anything to say. There'll be a lot of people talk about naming the emotion. I know you're frustrated. I can see you're frustrated about this. What I want to do is X, Y, and Z. So setting that out in the structure I'm going to go through in a second in the growing model. I'll talk through that in a second. It should work quite well.
Okay. Shameem, your job is safe, by the way. I'm just giving an example. I'm just giving an example, actually. So.
Yeah, of course.
Okay, the next tip. Taken by a guy called Viktor Frankl. He wrote a book called The Man's Search for Meaning. And what he talks about is that from someone saying something to you responding, you have a moment. You have a moment to think before you respond. And that moment is so crucial in terms of being able to give yourself time to think things through, because emotions is such a crucial part of a difficult conversation. Managing those emotions is everything. Let me give you an example of this, okay? One of my old bosses, I was having a rant about targets, about bonus, about money, about the accounts I had. I was a typical salesperson complaining about everything. And I ranted for 5 minutes. At the end of the 5 minutes, he came to my manager, he sat down next to me. He came to me after 5 minutes. He's like, okay. I said, you're not going to say anything? He said, no, I'm just thinking about what you said, Suk. And I've got a question around what you mentioned here. And I've got a question around what you mentioned over here. What do you think that did to me?
It made you think. Your response.
Right. What else?
Yeah.
My emotions?
Yeah, definitely went from 100 back down to...
Yeah, back down to 92. No, back down to 50 or something. So we went back down, right?
Yeah.
What else? What else did it make me feel?
Did you feel bad?
I felt listened to. I was like, my God, not only have you just brought my emotion down, but you're asking questions about, you actually listened to what I said. You listen to understand, right? You listen to understand, not to respond. Listen to understand, not listen to respond is so crucial, because he took all the emotion out. He went from frustrated and annoyed up here, and he said, right, let's think. You're thinking emotionally, Suk. I'm going to go logically here. I've got 2 questions around this. And I was taken aback a bit. I think with difficult conversations, the emotions start to run high. We're emotional beings, right? Emotions are going to run high in every situation, every circumstance, regardless of where you are on that COVID curve, right? And it's about being able to manage that. So taking a moment. All right. Thoughts, comments?
Yeah, I think it's important that, not like you said, well, like your manager did, it's just taking a step back, a breather, and then just wait to respond and right time. And then
Really important.
put the emphasis back on you, essentially.
Yeah, have me talking again, right? So I've gone from parent mode into adult mode, right? So right, let me explain it logically now. Like, whoa, the conversation transformed. Just in the space of 2 sentences, it's transformed. Next one. The earlier you guys can do this in a difficult conversation, the easier the conversation becomes. It goes from combative to collaborative. By creating a shared goal at the start of a conversation, and you'll need to think about this. What is the shared goal? Where is the goal? What are we trying to achieve? Sharing that at the very start builds a connection. It means you're working on the same side of the table rather than against each other. So create a shared goal as early as possible in that conversation. It makes your job so much easier.
So for example, so any of your, obviously you mentioned that you've been on so many webinars and training sessions. And what was the feedback like in terms of working towards a shared goal or during difficult conversations?
In terms of when I've shared this in difficult conversations?
Yes. Has it worked? Essentially?
Yeah, people really like this. So people in my training sessions, I'd say this difficult conversation, and it's really, I've reduced it down quite a lot, right? But in the training sessions, this is probably the bit people love to talk about. They love to talk about, because everyone's having real difficult, challenging situations, conversations right now. And they love the parent, adult, child, the stimulus response, work towards a shared goal, because they're good tips, and it's all about building empathy. That's all it's doing, trying to build empathy. So the feedback's been great for this one. I think this one links into the next one really well. But the one people like the most is this one. And it's a really, really simple one. That example I gave. Taking a moment before you respond. It makes it more logical. You listen to understand.
Working towards a shared goal.
Okay. And here's your structure. Difficult conversation. Anyone heard of this before?
Grow.
Yeah?
Yeah.
It's what I've used on you guys all day today. You feel cheated on now?
Yeah, I do.
Coaching, methodology, goals, reality, options, and way forward. How you use this in a difficult conversation is saying, look, I want Yousouf, by the end of this conversation, I want to talk to you about performance, and what I want to do is see how we can improve current performance. Okay, how you've been performing currently. What I'm doing, first of all, is making sure I'm soft on the person, harsh on the principle. Soft on the person, harsh on the principle. Keeping them separate and saying, Yousouf, I want to have a conversation with you about your performance. That's the goal, and how we can improve it. Yousouf, I'm keen to get your thoughts, reality. Keen to get your thoughts on how you've been performing. What's going well, what's not going so well. Let them talk. Yousouf, thanks so much for sharing that. I want to share my thoughts on what you just said there, my reality on how you've been performing, okay? And then then you kind of share your reality as well, right? Options. Actually, Yousouf, what can we do from what we've spoken about here? What do you think we can do? What do you think you can do? What do you think I can do to help improve performance? And way forward is how we're going to do it. Okay? Yeah. What this does is less of telling people they're not performing well. It's more of, okay, let's get your thoughts. Let's build a conversation. Let's create a shared goal. Get your reality, get my reality. Let's work out some options on how we can move forward. On a difficult conversation, this is really powerful, guys. This is so powerful. If you can work on this with your teams, your clients, getting them to the conclusions that you want them to get to.
No, definitely. You know what? It's got me thinking, like my one-to-ones. It's like certain members of the teams where I can easily put this in a way, structure it in a way that talking about their goals, reality, options, and way forward.
Yeah. We do this in the training session, actually. So I help leaders, managers to be able to use this model for personal development plans and one-to-ones. Those 2 areas, how to use it and get them to work out and practice it, because coaching is getting them to the conclusions that you want them to get to. That's what the grow model is. Rather than telling them they're not performing well, you create an open conversation. And a lot of the time, once they share their reality, they've already said the stuff that you want to say to them. The job's easier, right? It's done for you.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I totally agree there. Shameem, sorry, go on.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. I'm just thinking where we're going to have our first conversation based on this one.
I'll put a date in the diary.
Okay, so any questions on that, guys?
I think, it's something that we might have to discuss with you in more detail for your actual training session.
Like I said, this is just a taster. I know it's only a little bit of a taster and stuff. So in terms of what we've covered off in today's session, so we've done some work on motivation, autonomy, mastery, and purpose. We've done some work on understanding the challenging times we're living in right now, using the COVID curve, the effective communication over the virtual platform. I shared some of my insights around that. We talked about trust. We talked about how to make it a successful virtual session, clarity of intent, all of this stuff, really, really important. And then finally, we've done some work around dealing with difficult, conflicting situations when they're not face-to-face or where they are face-to-face. There's some top tips around that as well. So that's kind of what we covered off in today's session. Like I said, this is such a small part. This is a 2, maybe sometimes even a 3-day program around leadership management, communication skills, sales. I've kind of brought everything together here for you guys. So hopefully that's been helpful. Any of you guys got any questions at this stage?
No, I think we're good. I've made some good notes.
Okay.
I will be in touch for like a more in-depth review.
Okay. Cool.
Find out the purpose.
Yeah. What's your key takeaway? What's the one thing you're going to try and use on the back of this?
Definitely the grow. Yeah, that one I'm going to take, and probably also think about the COVID curve.
Yeah.
Change curve.
Cool.
Yeah.
See where we are with the team members.
Cool.
Not just from a business perspective, but also from a personal perspective.
Yeah. Thank you. Shameem, what about you? What's your one?
Well, you talked good on like motivation. This is very important. I would say a root of what you're building, motivation, building the team around it. Also, it's good to learn about the adult parent and child relationship. And also, of course, the grow stuff.
Yeah.
But on an overall, the small taster here gets us. It was very informative, I would say, very informative for the short time period we had with Yousouf.
Cool.
Also, it gets you think. You just not sit down, relax, and just follow up on slides. Gets you thinking, gets your thoughts out out there. And of course, share stuff with you, and you also have your thoughts on it. So it was very resourceful at the end of the day.
Cool, guys. Thank you so much for your engagement and staying involved throughout. Hopefully, you've taken some good stuff from there. If anything else, but apart from that, we are done. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
It's been pleasure.